The New Orleans Pelicans, I wonder if we're going to diverge here, but the New Orleans Pelicans drafted Jordan Hawkins at number 14, signed Herb Jones to a 4-year, $53.8 million deal with no options that runs through his age 28 season. They waived, then re-signed EJ Liddell to a 2-year, $6.2 million deal. I believe both seasons are guaranteed. They signed Cody Zeller. They did lose Josh Richardson. He went to the Heat. They lost Jackson Hayes to the Lakers. They waived Garrett Temple. Don't worry, he landed with the Toronto Raptors. And Willie Hernan-Gomez is now he signed with FC Barcelona, I believe. Grant, thoughts on the Pelicans offseason?
Before I give my grade, I was thinking about this morning. We were you more so than me, high on the Pelicans at this time last year, right? And that was justified because after a couple months in the season, they were like the second seed. I forget what the dates are. There's one of those things we repeat all the time during the season, but they were second in the West in like, I don't know, November, December, something like that. And this is the next powerhouse. They're rising. And then everything went to shit and Zion had his off season. And suddenly, I think most people would be much lower on the Pelicans now than they were a year ago. And I wonder why. Like, how much if you think about it, the roster is not meaningfully different. And maybe the reason is Zion has gone another year without staying healthy. Brandon Ingram missed a bunch of time. CJ McCollum is a year older. Jonas Valanciunas is a year older. Like, maybe that's the reason. But isn't there a case to be made that like we should just be as high or higher on the Pelicans as we were a year ago? This isn't an offseason question. This is just like a macro Pelicans thing that's kind of been bugging me.
The only reason you shouldn't be is if, okay, you just don't trust Zion Williamson to ever play in more than half the season, which I think is a fair skepticism to have. But this is not a team that in theory needed to do anything major. I think my issues, if we want to start with the issues.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I have no issue with the Herb Jones contract.
Zero.
Build up the goodwill with the player, and the deal is good enough to where it's like, oh, we'll lock that down now rather than worrying if he got the free agency. I know we talk a lot about, well, our team's actually going to give him a mega offer if his 3-point shot doesn't improve. He shot well later end of the season on ultra low volume. I don't think his, sort of floor game in open space came along as much as the Pelicans would have liked. And I have questions about that. The guy is going to be an all defense candidate for the next half decade. This goes through his age 28 season, so it's not super old. He will peak at 9.2% of the salary cap, if that. Don't have a problem with, don't be one of those people that's like, well, they ruined flexibility. No, they didn't ruin cap space. And if anything, a year from now, he's more tradable because he didn't just sign his new deal and he's making more money to where now it's easier to match in other sort of permutations. That was a home run deal. I'm actually shocked that he agreed to it. I would have taken Kobe Buffkin or Keontae George at number 14. Those were the direct picks that went after them. You can't get too mad. Grady Dick would have been way better. He wasn't on the board. And look, Kobe Buffkin, a lot of people are lower on him now. I just trust kind of the finishing at the rim and his ability to defend and play off guard. I can't hate on it. I don't know enough about how Jordan Hawkins' shooting, is going to translate. That should probably be fine. I think my actual biggest qualm, I would have liked to have seen them been more aggressive in diversifying their front court and moving on from Jonas Valanciunas.
Yep.
Was there that floor spacing 5 out there? The answer is, could they have been trying to get into the Kristaps Porzingis sweepstakes since they have some of these larger contracts? Sure. Porzingis already went and got injured on another lower body injury, plantar fascia. You can't hate on that. Miles Turner's not eminently available. What are the names? Like, you weren't going to work out a sign and trade for Brook Lopez. And so I'm giving them an A- because there's probably things that they could have done to, all right, should we have gotten another point guard in here to where what happens if, like, who is their best, like, if Jose Alvarado just kind of doesn't hit next year, who's the best point guard on this roster? Like, is it just going to be Kyra Lewis Jr., in which case, we can't move him to deduct the tax because he's our best point guard.
Right.
And maybe they'll move him before the season. This is what I want to make clear. Their ceiling, and you cannot say this about every team, with this current personnel right now, even with, will Jonas Valanciunas close? Will he not close? Is they won an NBA title. They didn't need to do anything major. They're going to be fine. If Zion Williamson is healthy, if he plays in, give me 53 games of Zion Williamson, this is a top 4 team in the West. I don't know. What does he look like in the playoffs? Yada, yada, yada. They didn't need to do anything major. If you're going to make more of a macro decision, you need to wait. Maybe if he gets injured again, do you do something at the trade deadline? Do you make it next off season? They were clearly interested in Scoot Henderson, not at the expense of Zion Williamson. And you and I had a debate on that. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to get rid of Zion. They didn't need to get rid of Brandon Ingram. Are you like, oh, should they be extending Brandon Ingram right now? Do you want to penalize them for that? I don't know why you would. This is an A- because, and I might even I would have liked to have seen them been more aggressive in chasing trades, but I'm also looking at the landscape. What and who was realistically out there for them to chase? And they just didn't have, if you wanted to say, well, man, this is a team that really should have gotten in with the Monte Morris sweepstakes. They're in this situation right now when they're giving up that type of salary matching to get even a $9 million player. You're not giving up Dyson Daniels for Monte Morris. You're not giving up, or do you even want to give up Larry Nance Jr. at this point? And then it's like, well, teams aren't just going to accept Kyra Lewis as filler. You're going to have to attach something to that. So, is Cody Zeller the perfect sort of backup? Or if you want to call him Zion, Jonas, Larry Nance, and then there's Cody Zeller as your fourth big. I don't hate it. I'd prefer Bismack Biyombo just sitting there. I know he doesn't space the floor, isn't as good of a passer as Cody Zeller. I don't care. It's just what did people want them to do? And the fact that they did the Herb Jones deal now, I think is a bonus, not some sort of hamstringing decision that it's been painted as.
All right. So I have to say,
was that more impassioned than you thought it was going to get on the Pelicans?
The word this is the most I'm going to move a grade because of your impassioned defense. So he's basically like you were talking to me, because I was at a C- on this, on the thinking of, what about a consolidation trade? Why is Valanciunas still here? All this other stuff. But your case for, they didn't really have the ability to do the types of things that I, in a perfect world, would have liked them to do. That being said, the only thing I really objectively liked is the Herb Jones deal, which we've lauded sufficiently now. So I'm going to move from a C- because it was unfair to say, well, you should have done all these other things when those weren't really on the table, to a C+, which still gives us probably our biggest disparity in grades.
I bumped it. Pelicans fans, my Venmo is Diva Valley 2033. You can compensate me for talking Grant into an above average grade.
Above average grade. Yeah. Again, C+ is good. No, I think you're right. I think I was too low on them. And especially that's silly because I led this whole thing with like, why shouldn't we think the Pelicans are just as good as they were a year ago? This is one of those where the specifics with respect to like what was actually a plausible thing that could have happened for this team, just make it such that like they didn't, no Miles Turner, no Porzingis. There wasn't a.
You could probably take just bigger issue with them not actively pursuing like guard upgrades, whereas like Shake Milton would have been really good for this team. Like that would be something you could take issue with more than just the front court player they need. I don't think he's available. It's not Pascal Siakam. Joel Embiid would be just an interesting proposition for this team. I think the theory of Porzingis, but you have Zion on your team. And look, even Ingram's been injured. And you want to get into Kristaps Porzingis business? No fucking thank you. I'm still surprised you're as low as a C+. I guess I would say the guard thing is the big where like you could have went and like there was an upgrade to make at the point guard spot.
I think too, we could be talking this time next year and this season has gone the same or worse than 21-22 or 22-23 for the same reasons, which is like Zion can't stay healthy and Ingram just, is in and out and McCollum is aging. And like at that point, I think it will. So if we end up in basically coming off a similar year for all the same reasons, then it may in hindsight be fair to criticize them for maybe they didn't look hard enough at moving Zion while there was still some value and he wasn't just about to log another 20-something game season or whatever it is. But that's based on so much speculation. That's kind of an unfair thing to put out there.
The other thing is that I don't like Zion's peak value might have already passed. And so you're kind of in the situation where if Zion just isn't who the player you expect to be, you're totally fucked. Right. Anyway. Yeah, and so what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
And so I'm just like we had the debate and I considered if Portland would take Zion for the number 3 pick, we were that high on Scoot, you especially. Yeah. Like I became more smitten with him after Summer League. Like you were on the Scoot Henderson bandwagon way before. I think even before he came out of the womb, if I'm not mistaken. So, but like it wasn't out there. And if you're looking for something nuclear, and I'm not talking, there is at some point if Zion if Zion's healthy this year at the trade deadline and they don't approach that with a sense of aggressive urgency, that's a separate grade. That's a separate thing to talk about. It's not the offseason. We fast forward to next offseason and they're still kind of nonchalant if they don't win the title or make the conference finals, or if Zion's not healthy. That's when you like he's going into his age 23 season.
Right.
Or he's still 23. But I think it's his age 23 season he'll be going into. Like this is maybe it's the last offseason of kind of viewing it this way, but it was still relative to the options available. It's the best way to view this summer for them. And I actually think if your grade makes more sense to me is like, well, like, why didn't they just go out and get like a guard, like a veteran guard for so cheap?